Welcome back to Gail's Journey. And please share it with who you can again on my YouTube channel. So Gail's Journey. I also have an email. And the Gail's Journey, it's GAIL''S Journey. But I guess you know that if you looked it up. So first of all, I'm waiting to eat here. It's freezing, so that's why I have this light on me, because it's so cold in here. But I wanted to go ahead and share the second, one of the last things we did to get pregnant. So after I found out my husband had surgery and we still didn't get pregnant, it was like, oh gosh, now what do we do? So I started investigating, doing homework, and I met with the fertility doctor again. He said, there's only one more thing we could try. I said, what is that? He said, it's called artificial insemination. I said, what do you do for that? He said, well, what you do is you would have to come to the doctor. We'll give you the fertility shots, and then your husband, we'd have to have his sperm, and then what we do is we inject it with a syringe, and then you would leave it in there 24 hours. And I said, I'm willing to try that. He says, you'd have to come like twice a month, like right before you ovulate and the day after. So with mine cycle being so perfect, 11 and 13, that's what we did. So we know when there was a tremendous amount of pressure for both of us, because at the time I was working and he was working. So we tried that at least 6 months, and there wasn't a time I got pregnant. I remember sitting in the waiting room at Texas Women's, and the people I talked to, I could see that they were all pregnant, and I felt like I was alone in the waiting room. So as soon as we got there, we would sit, of course, in the room, and there were baby pictures everywhere again. Not count sitting in the waiting room to see all the pregnant people. So we did artificial insemination. First couple of months I did that. I stayed home from work, and I just laid on the living room couch, just like, please, please, please let me get pregnant. Please let me get pregnant. Because this was pretty much the last shot of us having kids on our own with a little bit of assistance like that. So 6 months go by and nothing changed at all. It was the same thing. I found out I couldn't get pregnant. In the meantime, my sisters had 2 or 3 kids, and every time they had them, I didn't like going to the hospital. And actually, I would not even look or hold the babies. And in the meantime, my friends were getting pregnant, and I didn't go to the hospital either, and I didn't go to the baby showers. It was too painful. So all along on this road, people were saying, it's okay, it's okay. And I was like, no, it's not okay. And back then I was teaching aerobics like 5 or 6 times a week. And people would say, it's because you exercise too much, because you're too skinny, because you try too hard. I said, the doctor's not told me any of those things, so how can you tell me that? And so then finally, I just got to where I hardly talked to anybody about anything. So we did all that for... It was probably almost a year. We did the artificial insemination. I never did get pregnant. So I went back, and my husband said, well, Gail, looks like it's the last thing. I said, I'm going back in there again. And he's like, oh my gosh. He said, we've tried all these things. I said, I know, but I want to make sure. So him and I both went back to the fertility doctor. And he said, the only other thing I know, Gail, but it wouldn't be from your husband. We could do artificial insemination by a donor. I was like, what is that? He said, we have applicants that donate their sperm, and these are highly educated people, and they've been through a lot of testing. And so if you want to, we could do a surgery. We could use your egg and their sperm, and then we could inject that into you and see if you could get pregnant that way. And I was like, I'm willing to do that. So he met with us, and he says, you'll have to go back home and talk to your husband some more, because Big Casey was not too happy over that. So when we went home, Big Casey started doing some research. And he started researching about how maybe when the people who donated it, if they had any type of AIDS or any of that stuff, if the virus was dormant at the time, then they could still be carrying it, and my life could be at risk. So we went back and forth at that, back and forth, and he's like, I can't do that, Gail. And I was like, oh man. So I did go along with it. We go back to the doctor, and I said, we just can't do it. And I said, what else? There's got to be something. He said, we could do major surgery on you. He said, but I'm telling y'all, because I had known this doctor for like 5 years now, and he says, the mental turmoil you're going through when you go through the stages of death, of realizing you can't have kids. He said, I think mentally it'll be too hard for you because at the very, very most, you'll have less than a 6% chance of getting pregnant, and it's cost thousands of dollars. So we went back home and talked about it a lot, and then we decided that there's no way we could afford it, and there's no way I agreed that I wouldn't risk being infected by a virus that was dormant. And so I have to say that closed that chapter of our life. So I felt like at that time, back 30 years ago, we had tried everything that was possible for us. In the meantime, I wasn't a good friend because I didn't go to my friends' baby showers or to the hospital when their kids were born. I wasn't a good sister because I didn't participate in any of the showers, and I wasn't a good sister because when they had their kids, I didn't want to hold their babies. Mother's Day, I stayed at home and cried all the time, so pretty much I wasn't really that good of a person because I was so upset not understanding what the purpose was of me not getting pregnant. So the next thing we'll start is how we had to have long talks about how we had to rethink about what the future held for him and I. So thank you again for tuning in. I know things are different now, but I'm way too old for any of that stuff, so that's what we used back then. And again, thank you, and please share this, and I'm hoping to help people. And they enjoy my story. So the next segment is going to be on accepting the fact I couldn't have kids and how it was going through the stages of death. Thank you so much. And stay tuned to my channel and email me at galesjourney101@gmail.com. Thank you.